Hey, Warrior Saints. Glad to have you beautiful people with us as we continue our conversation from yesterday. To do that, let's look at day 4, recap. Day 1, light. Day 2, heavens, skies. Day 3, seas and the dry lands and the vegetation. And thus we roll into day 4. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons, days and years, and let them be lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made the 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser night to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, a 4th day. Now, it's a strange position to put the greater and lesser lights and the stars in the sky. Why on day 4?
Well, I mean, that's kind of, for me, where my mind immediately goes. He creates light in day 1, but the things that give light don't come into play until day 4. How
Absolutely.
does that play out? Why does that play out?
I mean, you nailed it, right? And think about this. So like he creates daylight on day 1, as you said, and the things that give light, the sun, it's not there yet. So there's something going on there. The second part of it is, you'll notice on day 3, he creates vegetation. But we all know and have known that it takes the sun to help grow the crops.
Yeah.
So what he's done here is tremendous. He, the authors, God, is tremendous. By putting the greater lights, the greater and lesser lights, the stars, the heavenly bodies, on day 4, he's crushed them. That's important, as we'll see in just a moment. He's crushed them in that God is the one who creates light. He's the source of light, not these bodies. And number 2, he also is the one who gives life through the vegetation, i.e. the food. It's not, you know what I mean? So why is that important? I think it's important. And also notice, he doesn't name them the sun and the moon.
Right.
He says the greater light and the lesser light. Why is that happening? My contention is that, and most scholars, or at least many scholars of Scripture, will say that what we have as Genesis chapter 1 was probably written, or at least redacted, during a period of time when the Israelites were captured and exiled in Babylon, right? I think it was probably later than that, even much later, but regardless, that's what the majority of the thrust is. So, around the 5th and 6th century BC. And the people of God were captured and they were slaves in Babylon. And the Babylonians had this pantheon of which they had many deities, 2 of which are Uta and Nunna.
I love the way you say those names. Say it again.
No, I'm not going to say it again. You say it.
Uta and Nunna.
Yeah, I mean, but who are these deities? I should have given you pictures. But Uta and Nunna are the sun and the moon gods. Right. And so in you can see it clearly in Ezekiel. He's trying to establish, get out of here, man. There ain't no gods. There's only one God, right? And so by using that mentality in Genesis, I'm not even going to give you names. You just, whatever. I made you. Mm-hmm. You're nothing, right? And I plopped you in the skies, and you're going to do some things for me, but I'm God. I'm in control. You don't produce vegetation and give life in food, and you don't give light. I gave light, right? So it's a deliberate, emasculation of deities, other gods. And people are going to say, yeah, but Father Chris, there's only one God. Well, you know that, and I know that, or at least we believe that, right? But that didn't start until Ezekiel.
Yeah.
Right? In their world and in their context, there were gods all over the place, right? Every city or city-state had its own deity or deities, right? Mm-hmm. So this idea of monotheism, it didn't exist. And so God is crushing and emasculating all of them.
So essentially it's being written in a way that is emasculating the gods of another place, who is holding down the people who follow the one true God captive, as a way to give them hope, to give them a promise that, look, our God is not just the God, he is the God. He is bigger than all the other gods that people are claiming are gods. And in the way, like I think a couple weeks ago or last week, we talked about the way that people understood God was that if there was a war, the 2 warring armies would come together, and the warring army that won, it was because their God beat the other people's gods in battle in
In the heavens.
in the heavens. And this is a way to say from the get-go, our God has beaten down this god, and he will take care of you and he will sustain you. And then, you know, that's where the vegetation starts to come in. That's where all the stuff starts to come in. And he's laying this out, the author of Genesis, and God is laying this out to explain that our God is the God. He is the God to be followed, and goes beyond all of this other stuff. Goes far beyond what anyone else's claims of who their God might be are actually able to pull out. Does that make sense?
You're reading it like Aesop. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the whole point. Now you're starting to say, what's going on here?
So sorry, it's
No,
kind of
say it.
interesting. If you remember a few years ago, there was the Bible
Mhm.
series that was on the History Channel or
Mhm.
something, which is funny in and of itself, the Bible on the History Channel. But it was fascinating to me and really well done the way that they started everything. And the start of the show didn't start with Genesis. It actually started with raging waters and this giant boat filled with animals raging and rocking and going in these raging waters on the sea. And then you hear the voice. And if you had on closed captions, it said Noah, colon, and it said, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So the way that they were even interpreting Genesis without maybe even knowing that they were interpreting Genesis this way is that the story of Genesis was a message of hope that Noah was telling to those to say, God will take care of us even in the midst of this flood.
Right. Absolutely. And you can see it, if my theory is correct, that it was written in a period when they were in Babylon and captive, or at least captive under somebody, whether the
Yeah.
Babylonians or, during the Persians or Alexander the Great, when all that stuff came through later. Regardless, it is to say, like, your God is the God
Yeah.
and he's got it, right? Which is, like you say, it is it is the message of hope, right?
Yeah. So I think that's fantastic stuff in explaining to us a lot about how to read scripture, how to not look at it historically. Because if it's a story that is promising a message of hope, reminding us that our God is the God, then, we shouldn't read it literally, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not to say that I mean, I don't believe it, but I'm willing to concede that God did create the earth exactly 7 days, 10,000 years ago, in the exact way that, I mean, maybe it is factual, but regardless, like, I don't believe that, but like, either way, regardless, this text that we're reading is not written with that in mind. It's written, as you said, to tell us a meaning.
So rather than read it as the history of the Watergate scandal, it becomes an opportunity to watch a show like on HBO, White House Plumbers, that is inspired by true events. They might get some of the factual data correct, but overall it's more a story that has some historical stuff peppered in it,
Yeah,
telling us a meaning about something.
I think you could say that.
All right, that's awesome.
I didn't watch Watergate. Good stuff.
White House Plumbers.
White House,
You
Watergate.
White House Plumbers. Anyway, it's a long story. I'll tell you about it later. We don't need to bore everyone else with this. But as we move on from that, I think we should look at the rest of Genesis 1 because, I kind of want to see how the story unfolds
Yeah.
the rest of the way.
So let's do it, baby. Come on, and the God said, let the waters bring forth, this is verse 20, God, let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, birds fly above the earth across the firmament of the heavens. So God created the great sea monsters and every living creature. That means, by the way, that the Loch Ness Monster is real.
So is Sasquatch.
But he didn't come to the sixth day.
No, but he's also in West Virginia.
And every living creature that moves with which the waters swarm according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them and said, be fruitful, multiply, fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth. And there was evening and there was morning, a fifth day. Right? So
I only said that he's in West Virginia because they have him in the airport.
you should show the picture.
I will later.
Show the picture.
All right, I got to go find the picture. So why don't you talk about day 5 and I'll find the picture of Sasquatch.
You cut it in later. That's fine. That's good stuff. So day 5. Now he's filling the seas and the skies. The birds. I mean, he's created the the animals, if you will,
Mhm.
that are there. And again, it was good. Now it's important the location of the birds and the fish of the sea monsters, all that stuff. Location meaning on day 5 as opposed to day 6, because as we roll into day 6, you see something even more interesting. And God said, verse 24, let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, cattle, creeping things, beasts of the earth according to their kinds. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and cattle according to their kinds, and everything that creeps upon the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. And God said, and God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful, multiply on the earth, subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, and so on. And God said, this is now, I'm jumping down to verse 29, I've given you every plant yielding seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree with the seed in its fruit, you shall have them for food, and to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything and so on. And I've given the green plants for food. And God saw that everything he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and morning, a 6th day. So he wraps up his creation by making the creeping beasts, right? Like cattle,
Yeah.
bugs, whatever.
Animals.
And then he makes man. Now, before we get into the whole man issue, because we tend to anthropocentrize everything, right? It's all about man, which is the battle of Scripture against ego in the first place. Excuse me, but notice what happens. There's like, I don't know if you can pull this off on screen, but notice what he does. Day 1, he creates light. Day 2, he creates the skies. Day 3, he creates the land and he boxes it in. Now on day 4, it's like a parallel to day 1. The sun and the moon, which are not even named to emasculate those gods, he creates the lights that give the light. Day 5 corresponds to day 2 in that he's created the skies and the seas, and now he fills them with the fish and the birds. And the day 6, which is corresponding to day 3, where he creates the land and the vegetation, he puts the beasts of the earth and man on it so that he can, and feed them with that seed. Do you understand? Like, you see what's happening there? I don't think that's, by chance. That's why I say the order is so important, that the days come, because he could have put man first, right? I mean, why not create man on the first day after the ground? Why do the birds and the fish and then the animals? So, I mean, it's deliberate, I think. And ultimately, all of this creation is very good, right? So, like, that's going to be important later when you get into Genesis chapter 2. Maybe we'll talk about that another day.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, too, the way that you just said that. All of creation is completed, and he says it's very good. In our hubris, which I think we should come back to later, we think that it is very good because that's the day that he created man. Yeah. And we tend to think and talk about it as though, like, look, God created man, therefore he gave man all of these things, and then he said, now it's very good. And I don't think that's really what's going on. It's the totality. As you pointed out, it's the totality of creation that is very good.
Yeah.
It's that he's finished the work that started in verse 1 of, I'm going to gather everything, I'm going to order everything and create everything, build something out of this rubble, and now I've looked at it and it's very good.
I mean, you said it better than I could say it, I think. I mean, it's, to use my teacher's word, he creates a symbiosis, right? So he's got the environment, the building blocks for life, a place to live that he has ordered and conquered the bad guy monsters of darkness and waters in order to give us a habitable environment, right? Yeah. And he's given the food, right, for all 3 parts of this environment, the plants, animals, and human beings, right? Like, in other words, and we all have to work together. Interesting, too, as I said earlier, we tend to, well, I don't know. I think that's good stuff.
I think it's fantastic because at this point, creation's done. He's done everything. The only thing that we didn't look at is the 7th day, which I think is equally fascinating in and of itself. But maybe we can talk about that
at another time. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about that next.
Hey, Warrior Saints. Thank you so much for being with us. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, and share. It helps us get the word out there. And if you want more, visit us at warriorsaints.org and subscribe to Understanding the Bible. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.